evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs announces that Hajj pilgrims are selected and notified for the current year. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is encouraged by the agreement signed by Russia, Turkey and Iran to set up safe zones in Syria. Oil prices find their footing after tumbling on uncertainty over whether OPEC will extend an agreement to cut production to shore up prices. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. As an envoy of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Sayyid Haytham bin Tariq Al Said left the Sultanate this evening for Saudi Arabia to convey the condolences of His Majesty the Sultan on the death of His Royal Highness Prince Mishal bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. His Highness is being accompanied in the convoying the condolences by His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Kalbani, Minister of Social Development, His Excellency Syed Dr. Ahmed bin Hilal Al Busaidi, Secretary's accredited ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and His Excellency Syed Faisal bin Hamoud Al Busaidi, advisor of the Ministry of Heritage and Culture. The Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs has announced that all selected pilgrims have been notified yesterday. About 14,000 people have been selected to travel from Oman for the Hajj pilgrimage this year, an increase of 20% from last year, the ministry has said. The selected individuals have been informed for the Hajj pilgrimage for Oman from the 1438 Hajj season for Omanis and residents, an official ministry tweet said. More than 23,000 applicants registered this year with the ministry for the annual Hajj pilgrimage. According to the ministry, the registration window closed with 23,670 possible applicants. Of the total 14,000 pilgrimages this year, 12,664 chosen applicants would be Omani, while 600 non-Omani applicants will attend this year. The remaining slot will go to the Oman Hajj mission and the military mission. It is worth mentioning that this was the second year that Oman residents used the electronic system in order to register. In order to raise the level of awareness among the medical staff in dealing with the psychological conditions of women during pregnancy and after delivery, the 15th Gynecology Conference was held in Muscat. More details in the following report by Salah bin Khalfan Al-Rabi.
Essential topics were presented at the 15th Conference of the Omani Society for Gynecology in cooperation with the Royal Hospital. The conference papers discussed the most recent developments in the psychological health of the different age groups among women. In addition, the conference discussed the most important medications available for pregnancy diabetes and the consequences of this kind of diabetes, whether on the mothers or the babies.
The theme of the conference is looking at the psychological disorders and psychiatric disorders in pregnancy and the postpartum period, and followed by 2 sessions related to diabetes and pregnancy and the antenatal period, run by the Royal Hospital Department. At the end, there will be a session on medico-legal aspects and how to deal with it by the doctors. Of course, this conference is a great opportunity to share ideas, experiences, and to make sure that we have policies and protocols and the best treatment for our women in the country.
The objective will be to highlight, to make sure we have healthy women on the whole in the country, also to have healthy women in pregnancy, also healthy women after delivery. That's for the psychological disorders. And the second most important is for women suffering from diabetes. It's a very important problem in Oman on the whole for both men and women. It is very important in pregnancy because it can affect the baby. It can make the baby big, or it can affect the baby in such a way that women may need cesarean section. So for that we have to take care of women in pregnancy if they are diabetic, or even if they have a tendency to develop diabetes.
In order to spread legal awareness and knowledge of its aspects in the judiciary complaints among the physicians and the medical staff working in the health sector in the Sultanate, The legal committee in the Omani Medical Association was hosted in the conference as a legal support. For the Sultanate of Oman Television English News, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi, Muscat.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is encouraged by the agreement signed yesterday by Turkey, Russia and Iran to set up safe zones in Syria and de-escalate fighting. It will be crucial to see this agreement actually improve the lives of Syrians, UN spokesman Stephanie Dujarric said in a statement. Russia, Iran and Turkey signed the agreement to set up the 4 safe zones following talks in the Kazakh capital Astana on shores up of a ceasefire agreed in December. Russia and Iran backed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's forces in the war, while Turkey is supporting rebel forces. Russian representatives at the Syrian talks said the de-escalation zones will be closed to military aircrafts from the US-led coalition. Alexander Lavrin's comments today commented on a day after talks in Kazakhstan, where Russia, Iran and Turkey agreed to establish the zones in Syria. Under the Russian plan, Syrian air forces would halt fights over the designated areas across the war-torn country. He suggested that all military aircrafts, including Russian and Turkish, are prohibited. He said US-led coalition aircrafts would be able to operate against the Daesh group in specific areas, but the de-escalation zones were now closed to their flights. The agreement is the latest attempt to reduce violence in Syria. The White House announced yesterday that President Donald Trump will visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the 23rd of this month. Senior administration officials said Trump chose Saudi Arabia as his first stop to show his commitment to improving U.S. relations with the Muslim world. Trump will meet with Saudi Arabia's King Salman and other leaders, where they are expected to discuss efforts to defeat terrorism and discredit radical ideologies. U.S. benchmark crude oil figures fell briefly below the key $45 level before stabilizing. Oil is being hammered by uncertainty over whether the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries will extend an agreement to cut production, and worries that renewing the deal would not be enough to counter a growing glut. OPEC member nations are to discuss the deal later this month. Crude rose 53 cents to $45.76 a barrel after falling as low as $43.76 in early Asian trading, a level that wiped out all gains since the production cut agreement in November. Brent crude, the standard for international oils, rose 62 cents to $48.68 a barrel in London. A senior trader said they saw $45 as an important level because the Saudi oil minister said earlier this week the prices would be capped in the $45 to $55 range. Still to come in our news bulletin. In the north of Kenya, on Lake Turkana, traditional rivalries have intensified in the battle for fishing. A ceremony was held in the governorate of Dhofar to mark the 80th anniversary of the establishment of Dhofar School in Salalah. The event was presided over by His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. The school was established in the 1930s. The celebration included an operetta on the history of the school. This deep-rooted school was the only educational institution in that time. It started with humble beginnings and buildings and only a few students. It was the start of the educational renaissance in the governorate of Dhofar. Establishing public endowment charities were announced in the wilayas of Sohar and Saham. It came during the Cultural Forum of Endowment Charities Initiatives, which is organized by the Ministry of Endowment and Religious Affairs in Sohar Sultan Qaboos Mosque. The forum aimed to present the initiative to the community and to shed light on the endowment management and its investments. Construction works at a number of service projects continue in the wilayas of Sohar and Liwa in the governorates of North Batana. These projects being implemented by Jasor Enterprise at the cost of 3.5 million Omani Rials. They came as part of social responsibility initiatives. They are funded by some companies in the governorate. These projects include the establishment of Liwa Public Park, Liwa Cultural Centre and Al Wafa Disabled Children Rehabilitation Centre in the wilaya of Liwa, Children Exploration Centre in the wilaya of Sohar, and a Drug Addiction Rehabilitation Centre in the wilaya of Sohar. In order to encourage art talents, an art exhibition in the wilaya of Sohar was organized. It included around 200 artworks of male and female students of Tabuk Basic Education School in the wilaya. The works were in drawing, photography, fine arts and handcraft works. The exhibition embodied the creativity of these students and their artistic skills in various types of arts. In Kenya's hot, dry and lawless north, even the fishermen are armed, but guns will not save them. They live on Lake Turkana, the biggest desert lake on earth and a World Heritage Site. But the lake is threatened and so is their way of life. Here is a report.
Armed and ready to fight, but these are not militants, they are fishermen. In the north of Kenya, on Lake Turkana, traditional rivalries have intensified in the battle for increasingly scarce resources.
We don't negotiate. You meet with the Marie and you exchange fire. If he's fortunate, he escapes, and if we're fortunate, we escape. That's the only language we speak.
In the past, a good catch could see nets overflow. But the fishermen say, not anymore. The reason, according to experts, is the giant Gebe 3 Dam, 600 kilometers away upriver in Ethiopia.
If you stop that seasonal flooding because you are controlling the flooding, then that means the stimulus effect, which makes the fish starts maturing before it moves upstream and then breeds and comes back, will be lost. So we'll have collapsed in the breeding cycle.
The fishermen believe the Kenyan government is neglecting their fate and is more interested in importing electricity from the dam. Meanwhile, the fight between Kenya's Turkana and the neighboring Deescalate people, who live on both sides of the Kenya-Ethiopia border, has become increasingly deadly.
Nothing good comes out of this lake. It's only death. Their fishing nets meet with ours in the delta. They cast their nets from one side while we do the same from the other. The strong night tides push the nets and they end up mixing in the lake. So fetching our nets becomes a problem, leading to clashes.
Recently, Turkana and Deescalate leaders have come together for peace talks. They've been spurred on by fears that Ethiopian plans for sugarcane and cotton plantations could divert the water and drain the lake. As one fisherman said, if there's no water, there'll be nothing left to fight for.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas overlooking the Sea of Oman with chances of scattered rainfall. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies. Winds will be north to northeasterly light to moderate, occasionally active over the coastal areas. Seas will be moderate to rough with a maximum wave height of 3 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs announces the Hajj pilgrims are selected and notified for the current year. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is encouraged by the agreement signed by Russia, Turkey and Iran to set up safe zones in Syria. Oil prices find their footing after tumbling on uncertainty over whether OPEC will extend an agreement to cut production to shore up prices. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsrooms and the studio, it's good night.